Hello and welcome again to this edition of Phi TV. I'm your host, Brad Swanson. We are coming to you just a few blocks from Florida's capital during the 2022 Florida legislative session. We are once again joined by our friend, the Chief Financial Officer of the state of Florida, Jimmy Patronis. Welcome to the program.
Brad, I was just thinking, I've known you for probably almost 14 years now. So, I mean, it's just so glad to have you as a friend, but an honor to be here with you.
Well, it's great to have you here, and thank you for not making any comments about my super white hair or anything like that, like you usually do amongst our friends.
It's distinguished, man. It's good, but the glasses are new.
We're both looking a little more distinguished these days.
Oh,
we're gonna call it that, right? We're not gonna call it older. We're just gonna call it distinguished. All right.
Your hair's holding on, mine's not. So.
All right. Well, let's move on to the business of the day. All right. When we think about last year, how the pandemic affect emergencies, affect how your department's priorities are structured for the coming year.
So there was not a playbook to deal with the pandemic. If we reflect on what it looked like in January of 2020, the state's unemployment rate was less than 4%. We shut down the entire state for basically the month of April. We're a sales tax-based economy, a lot of nervous feelings, but the good things that happened about it is Governor DeSantis studied the data. He built out a team. I was on the Reopen Task Force. We listened to stakeholders. We studied the data, and we pushed forward to get this state open. He pushed out options for people, whether it be monoclonal treatments, vaccine sites, testing sites, you name it. But then eventually we said, it's time to get the state open. And, again, he had to make some difficult decisions. I'm proud of the work that he's done, and Florida is showing it by the strength of our economy right now.
Yeah, and I think, the leadership that both the governor showed and the cabinet showed in making those decisions and moving us forward really has put Florida kind of at the front of the line, if you will, of the model of how to reopen. And we did it sooner and faster than anybody else did, and we've got the lowest impact, if you will.
Sure, and all the states, all the states that did significant lockdown measures, I mean, literally this week, I think they were all on a conference call with each other saying, can we go ahead and take the masks off?
Right.
So, I mean, you've definitely seen a major shift in policy in a number of the states that were locked down. But you know why? Because the CFOs of those states were setting themselves on fire saying, you know what, if we don't get open, we're going to destroy our economy.
Right. It's crazy. Okay, so let's move on from the pandemic. We know we could spend the whole episode on that. Let's talk a little bit about you and how you manage this role. Okay, you're the CFO, which means you're the state fire marshal. Yep. You're a member of the cabinet.
Yep.
You've got a million other organizations under the chief financial officer's responsibilities. How do you balance it all? What all do you manage? Give us a rundown of a day in the life.
So the cabinet's unique. Florida is still one of these states, like only one that exists really, that there's still a functioning cabinet that has cabinet agencies. So whether it be highway safety motor vehicles, that's your troopers, whether it be it's the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, that's our state's FBI. All of these different cabinet agencies report to us. So unique. The governor's my partner. Ashley Moo's my partner, Ricky Freed's my partner as we work together. But, I tell people my role in some states is an appointed position. In Florida, it's an elected position. So I get to be the state's business manager. That's the way I kind of dumb it down for folks. But, if you are buying insurance in the state, I license that agent. If you get a disbursement from the state, whether it be a paycheck or retirement check, I write that check. If you have lost something financially of value to you or your family or your business, maybe it's an uncashed paycheck, I'm the trustee of all unclaimed property in the state. So we manage a lot of money, and also I have the state's checkbook. So right now it's in good shape. The state of Florida is economically great condition, but it's fleeting. We have got to stay focused. We've got to be disciplined, and we've got to look out for the taxpayers' money.
So let's stay on that for one more question. As a small business owner and running a restaurant your whole life, what of those skill sets in running that business did you bring to the office?
Oh, so that's so funny you bring that up, because I tell people all the time, when I was 30 years in the restaurant business, I'm constantly out there trying to take care of the customer. And my attitude in the restaurant business is very competitive, but my attitude is if I don't take care of the customer, another restaurant will. So my attitude has been, since I've been in the legislature and now at the Chief Financial Officer's office in the Department of Financial Services, is I tell my employees, you're going to take care of the consumer, or I'm going to find somebody else that will. We are here to serve the citizens of the state of Florida. And I get calls on Social Security, federal issue. I get calls on immigration, federal issue. I get calls on passports, federal issue. And I get calls on local permitting, local issue. And my attitude is, you know what, I put my name on the ballot. I'm here to serve. So no matter what people typically call me about, I find them a solution. And I really feel like all public servants should have the same attitude. And if you don't, then you probably should get out of public service.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's your servant's heart that comes from your time in the restaurant, that we've seen in the legislature. We see it certainly in your role as CFO.
Take care of the customer.
That's right. Well, I've got to take a little funny right now in this little spot is it doesn't matter what's going on in someone else's state. When something's going terrible for their business climate or whatever, you are the first to take to social media and say, you need to come to Florida. You are like a one-man advertising man. Like, I know we give all great investments in Visit Florida and Enterprise Florida and all that sort of stuff, but I mean, you're like a one-man band getting those companies to come down here.
I think in other states when elected officials make stupid comments and stupid decisions, there's consequences. And, I know the state of Florida, we are nimble, we can react. We're very hands-on. I'm very accessible. And whenever we can, tease Elon Musk with our beautiful beaches, we should, and whenever a Democratic member of the California Assembly says that Elon Musk should leave Texas, you know what? We should invite him.
Right.
So, and that's exactly what he's done with moving the headquarters of Tesla. So again, I know this. You miss 100% of the balls you don't swing at.
Yeah.
So every opportunity that we've got to promote this state, I feel that's my job.
I love it. And that's why everybody loves working with you in the process, because you're accessible. All right, let's move to the legislature. We are in the session. It's an animal you've been a part of, you've been in, you've lobbied it when you're a restaurant owner. And so as you think about what the CFO's office is bringing to the legislature this year, what are the top items on the list?
So, one of the items that we're always fighting fraud. But this year we're also pushing out, I need to find solutions to help people find lower insurance costs. So sometimes, in this process, you may be picking a fight between insurance companies, maybe the plaintiff's attorneys. And so then sometimes I find a solution. So the solution I found here is we're going to create an incentive for homeowners to spend a little money on their house. And a lot of times you've got an older house, you may not have hurricane impact windows and doors. I've seen firsthand through a number of hurricanes that I've experienced on the job is if you've got hurricane impact windows and doors, the likelihood of your bubble stays intact, your house is higher. Yeah. So we've said, okay, Florida legislature, work with us. Let's create an incentive where we'll do a sales tax rebate for homeowners that decide to replace their windows and doors with hurricane impact. Excellent. Ultimately, this is something that I'm not picking a fight with insurance companies. I'm not picking a fight with the plaintiff's bar. I'm empowering the Florida consumer and working with the legislature, empowering the Florida consumer to harden their home to ultimately get a lower insurance rate. So, this is a good time to make those type of investments, and the return on that investment will be multiples because you're investing in your single biggest investment you'll make in your house. And your life is your house.
Well, and we never know in Florida where those hurricanes are going to come. And certainly your restaurant was right there at ground zero for when with Michael and Ivan and they all came through. How near and dear is it to you for Floridians to make their houses as hardened as possible for the unevent or the possibility of that hurricane?
Well, there's a number of other upsides to it. If your home is hardened and you make that investment, the fly-by-night contractors, you're not as attractive. Mm-hmm. So if you're making that investment on your own will, with a licensed Florida contractor, you're likely making an investment that is not going to make the curb appeal of wanting to replace or make those type of changes. The last thing I'll touch on is I'm real excited is we're dealing with negative option billing. A lot of people don't know what that is, but whenever you sign up for a gym membership or God forbid XM radio and you can't cancel it, what we're saying is now Florida law will put into statute just as easy as it was for those guys to sign you up, it's got to be just as easy to cancel the subscription.
I'm going to grab my phone. I've got a few I need some help with, so in navigating through those and finding that little widget on there.
In the full faith and support of the state of Florida, will be behind your back to cancel that subscription.
Yeah. Your leadership in during the surf side and really paying homage to the leaders on the ground and the folks that were there is it's storied, it's very public. I've heard you talk about it. Share with us a little bit about if there's any legislative issues that are going on with that, and then also just kind of give us an update on where that's all standing.
So those guys and gals that responded to Surfside, the same number of men and women that responded to Hurricane Michael, which was 12 counties by a Category 5 storm, the same number of men and women were deployed to Surfside, a 1 acre site, and our office does all the coordination of those resources. Now, here's the deal. Surfside was a different type of mental torment on those men and women. They worked on a site that was only it was the third largest building collapse in the history of the United States, only behind Oklahoma City bombing and the World Trade Center. So they saw things they can't unsee. Their equipment was abused in ways that it's not meant to be abused. Their bodies were abused, so we went to the legislature and said, hey, we need to get some more equipment for these guys, some replenishment. The state of Florida will own the equipment, but we're going to make sure those cities and counties have those resources available. And then there was a lot of unfortunate forced retirements, early retirements, because of the mental toll that Surfside took on you shouldn't be on a site moving debris of glasses, bricks, hand by bucket, at the same time picking up wedding albums and children's toys. So the type of emotions they dealt with are not normal for humans, and so we partner with the legislature to make sure those men and women know that we've got their backs.
Yeah, well, thank you for your continued, clarion call of attention to the sacrifices that were made by those first responders and the continued needs that they have and the PTSD, and we'll be here to help you share that message with the legislature in the state of Florida. As we kind of come to a close in this interview, and I think about you and the entirety of your service, but let's just focus on your time as CFO. What are you most proud of so far? Because it's not over yet, but what are you most proud of so far in your time as serving as CFO of Florida?
The amazing people of the Department of Financial Services and state employees in general. We've got an amazing state. They continued to work through the pandemic to make sure, whether it be unemployment benefits, services were provided. We never turned the lights off in the state of Florida. And they worked around the clock. And then you look at our, 35,000 firefighters and first responders, all the law enforcement that, they couldn't respond to a 911 call via Zoom. Okay, yeah. So what they did was amazing. Our frontline healthcare workers who still showed up, and my niece, she's a physician's assistant, and she worked all through the pandemic. I'm so proud of her and so many others just like her that knew that lives needed to be saved, services needed to be provided, and they didn't have a choice but to show up to work.
Yeah, self-sacrifice in service, it's certainly a trend with you and those around you. So thanks for leading by example. We appreciate it. Oh. All right, before we go, one last quick second. When you're not fighting for the freedom of America and Florida, what does CFO Jimmy Patronis watch or stream? We're the internet group. We got So Ozark's back on. Right. So my wife and I are watching Ozark. I went ahead and I did all of Lost in Space just now. Okay. Enjoyed it. Well, the Lost in Space, because I loved watching Lost in Space when I was a kid, the old version. Right. So it was pretty good.
And then of course I'm just sitting on pins and needles for Yellowstone.
All right, I'll buckle up and I'll catch up on Ozarks, and then we'll compare notes. But that's all the time we have.
Did you ever do Breaking Bad?
Oh yeah, amazing.
That's awesome.
Amazing. Well, thanks, CFO. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate it. That's all the time we have for this episode of Phi TV. Make sure you hit us up for more great interviews like this one on our social media feeds. And for now, thanks for tuning in.